I'm waiting on it to kick on.
What's up, people?
What's going on?
Let me get all my stuff going here. Got us some monsters. I got us some bows sitting here. Let me get mine brought up. Hopefully y'all are having a good evening. We got the giveaway we're going to talk about.
Yep.
Let me see. Let me dial this thing in. Nothing. There it is. There it is. All right. How do I get to there? We go. Okay. How are y'all doing? Hopefully you're doing all right. We got our, I'll keep mentioning this as people join, but we're giving away a stabilizer at the end of this thing here in 20 or 30 minutes. So go ahead, if you're already on here, and type in a number between 1 and 20. We're going to do it like we did last time. We got TJ's computer here. We'll randomly let it draw a number between 1 and 20. So just put one time, pick a number, and then we will give this thing away and ship it out tomorrow to whoever wins it. It is a outer limit. Let me break it up. Let me get it out of the pack. It's not terribly fancy, but we sell a lot of them on these newer bows because you don't really need a big stabilizer. Let me get it screwed on this bow just so you can see it.
What's going on, Muddy Ducks ATV?
It's just a low profile rubber. It's got a big hollow core, and it's got what I call pistons, I guess, but these big rubber shanks on the outside that kind of absorbs vibration. So I like it for a small rubber stabilizer because it don't on most bows extend past the limbs and limb pockets. But anyway, we're giving it away for the people that come in and say, like, I don't need a big name brand, fancy sidebar, front bar setup. We recommend these a lot. So I just like it because it's rubber. It takes up any extra vibration. It don't weigh a whole lot. I don't know exactly what it weighs, a couple ounces. It don't say, but anyway.
Just remember, check before you enter your number. Make sure somebody hasn't got it already.
Yeah.
So got a few already coming in.
Heck yeah. We'll try to keep up with everybody as we're chatting away.
Yep.
I brought a prime bow out to kind of talk about a little bit. Y'all have heard us talk about them before, but we get a lot of questions about prime bows. I know prime is not, I mean, they're a major brand, but they're up and coming, I guess you would say. You know what I mean? A lot of people had never even touched a prime bow until recently. And I guess the most common question I get is about the double track cam system.
Yep.
And what I can tell people about that is my best explanation of it. You know, when you take a bow and come to full draw, and to me, it's magnified if I'm shooting a tournament setup and I got a long stabilizer. But you come to full draw and you get that little bit of torquiness to it, and it kind of wobbles left and right, especially with higher let off. This bow, to me, does not do that as bad because you got the double tracks. Instead of having one track, one string where it can kind of do the wobble, this one's got the double track. That's the best way I can explain this double track system and what it is good for. On these new Black Series bows, you can adjust the let off, you can adjust the draw length and all that stuff. So probably one of the biggest selling points for us is you get free strings every 2 years for the life of the bow. So this particular set is 7 pieces. You got a string, 2 control cables, and then 2 yoke cables. And then, well, the other 2, well, they call those yokes too, but the 2 around the cam. So if you bought this, we got a little thunder going on outside.
Yep.
If you bought this set, you know, or if you came in and said, you know, you needed this set and we need to tune it and all that, you're looking at like $200. So you get this every 2 years for free, and Prime actually pays us to put it on. So you have very little, if anything, in the string. So that's a big selling point. You know, you figure $200 every 2 or 3 years that you would have to spend is not there. The other thing that I really like. Go on YouTube, you can find this video, or maybe I can put it in the description after we get done. They use a higher grade aluminum on the riser. They use an 8000 series aluminum that's a whole lot tougher. And there's a video on the Prime YouTube channel. You have to dig around to find it, or like I say, I can link it after this live feed. And they take a competitor's riser, that everybody else is making their riser out of, that sort of aluminum, and a Prime riser, and they literally lift up a Jeep with it, and the other aluminum just crinkles. I mean, it just flops down. The Prime riser don't budge, and then they take the bow and shoot it afterwards. I mean, when I seen that, I was like, I'm sold. Another thing
What's going on with you?
that kind of sold me was there's another Prime video, and pretty much what it explains is with their Synergy grip technology, they took risers and kind of manufactured the grips, so much above and below the center point of the bow itself, and through sensors and lasers and all this stuff, figured out where the best placement for the steadiest hold is at for the most people. I guess they had who knows how many people, but let's say hundreds of people come in and hold this thing on target for 10 seconds or whatever, and they said this grip placement on this part of the riser worked the best, and that's what they put into their bow. So to me, all that stuff helps a lot. The only, I don't want to call it a gripe, but the only thing before this year was you had to get draw specific cams.
Yeah.
So if we had a guy come in and need a 29.5 and we had a 29, we had to swap out cams, and that's not a big deal, but now it's so much easier because with about 4 screws, we can adjust not only the draw length, but with this stop, we can adjust the let off to exactly suit you. So if you got a Prime dealer near you, it's definitely worth going and shooting one. I mean, I'd put it, there's a 31, 33, 35 and 39 inch model. I really like the 33 inch model. It's a good all around one. The 35 is just a few more feet per second faster. So there's some people that are in love with it. And then the tree stand people that are all the time needing a little short bow, that 31 is it. And they all feel very similar, but I really like the 33. This one, 2 years ago, came out in this color. They call it Ghost Green, and it's got the Sitka subalpine limbs. And you see a lot of people, PSE for example, just came out with the same color, but you see, and then Matthews came out with what they call ambush green.
Ambush green.
You see a lot of people doing this same sort of thing. And when we seen it 2 years ago when the Logic came out, we were like, this color is badass. So we got all kind of different colors, but I whooped this one out just to show you. And I don't even know how good you can see it on this feed. It don't look too bad for my phone. Just that little bit of green in that subalpine, and then that green riser, it just looks good. But anyway, we get a lot of questions about Prime bows. If I had to pick one thing that maybe I would change, I like the grip, but for me, it's just a tiny bit too thin. So on my Prime bows, I wrap it with that lizard skin and thicken it up a little bit. That's about the only thing that I would say would maybe thicken the grip or do something like that. That's about all I can come up with.
I think my biggest gripe is a string stop.
Well, yeah. For whatever reason,
it's hollowed out.
It's like a drum. It's hollow in the middle. And we noticed sort of not a thump. I mean, it's not that bad, but
it's not bad, but
long story short, we ordered one of the Cool Hand Luke string stops. That's you can probably find him a lot on Facebook and on Archery Talk, but he makes aftermarket string stops. I don't remember who put us on him, but we ordered one of his string stops, and I mean, it was a good bit different. I mean, it quietened the bow down a lot more. Not that it's loud, but you could tell a difference. So
yeah,
I think if they do away with this drum, I call it a drum, this drum of a string stop, or even just made that rubber solid, it would probably fix that problem.
That's just been my biggest thing. Is I mean, I don't know why I don't even think we've ever asked our rep.
Yeah.
Why they do that, but I mean, a Cool Hand Luke ain't but what, $25. He might have went up. I don't know.
I think it's just $25.
But that's my biggest gripe on anything, because people come in and shoot and they're like, well, it's got a little bit of a twang to it, I guess you can say. And that's normally, I said it's probably because of this string stop right here being hollowed out.
I need to order several and just keep them in here, or if somebody buys one, just give them one, because it's like I say, it's a noticeable difference. I think John that helps us, I think, ordered one first, and we were like, no, it might have been on the CT5 last year. But anyway, we were like, man, that thing quietened it down a lot.
Oh, Chris says if more rubbers were solid, it might solve a lot of problems in the world.
It might.
It might.
It might. Well, let's see.
DLR asks, when would you adjust the cable guide on the prime when tuning? So he's talking about the flex that's right here, I believe.
We have occasionally, a couple times let's say out of 30 or 40 bows, we've probably got 2 or 3 that gave us a little bit of a right or left tear, and then I loosened it, backed it out a little bit and played with it, and it got it out of it, believe it or not. So that would be me. If I seen a right or left tear and I had my center shot dead down the center, that's when I'd play with that Flexus, or is that what they call it?
Well, they just got prime on it this year.
But
on the CT series last year, it was called the Flexus.
Okay.
So.
But yeah, left-right tears when I would play with it. And then, and honestly, my thoughts on that whole thing is each bow is going to have a little bit different combination of limb deflection. So one bow may have, they're not all going to be exactly the same on any bow, any manufacturer, but one bow may have a little bit higher number on the left or right than another, and that may be where that little bit of a tweak of that roller, helps out. But not only this bow, but other bows, we've tinkered with some elite bows and all that, with adjusting that, and it'll usually take a left-right tear out of it.
Yep.
The other thing I really like about this bow, I'm just looking and thinking of stuff. On both sides, top and bottom of the axle, they've got a big, what do you want to call that, a bevel, or where you can hook a limb driver cord.
Yeah.
So instead of having to wrap it around the limb and worry about it sliding, you can just tie a little loop and hook it right on the axle. And that works great because it's the very tip of the limb that's getting the most movement from draw to static, and it works out real well. I think that was, as far as a well thought out engineered bow, this thing is it.
Yep.
I like the wide, it reminds me of a Matthews as wide as these limbs are now, but I feel like that makes it more stable. It's just, I don't know, it's a good feeling, good looking bow. I like to say, if you got somebody near you that's got them, go shoot one. Last year, or maybe year before, I guess it was year before when the Logic came out, and we were like, man, this is a nice bow. We had a lot of people coming in that were just going around and shooting all the bows, and we'd be like, listen, you need just shoot this. I wouldn't call us salesmen by no means, because we always tell people, you buy what you want. Maybe we could probably do better, but we've just always been that way. Here's the good, here's the bad, buy what you want. But a lot of people shot the Logic 2 years ago and was like, I think I'm gonna buy this instead of whatever. So that's when we were like, man, people are starting to see these bows.
And then also they've got the cutout right here. I don't know if you can see it. I'm gonna slide them, but there and here, they also, Prime has a Sherpa quiver. So they redesigned it last year, and instead of having like a little lever that you tightened it up with, it actually, all it is a little knob. You unscrew it.
It expands in that triangle or whatever.
Yeah, it's got 3, I guess you'd say, ball bearings in it. So when you tighten it, it expands in here and the quiver can't come out, and it makes it rock solid. And then you just untwist it and you pull the whole piece out.
That's pretty neat.
So
that's neat. Like I say, as far as a well thought out thing, it's pretty neat. Evening, Richard. How are you doing?
Yep.
But yeah, there's all that, and of course you get the lifetime warranty and all the usual stuff that about everybody's offering now. We really hadn't had any issues. Trying to think. We had
the only issues with the CT series and the Black series that I've seen is the screws that hold the cams together.
Yeah, last year we had one guy the screw. He said this thing's got a weird rattle to it, and we talked on the phone a little bit. And finally, he said I'm just gonna bring it over there, and he had a screw or two backing out. And then on the first generation of these, it had black screws in the cam, and then we got a call, and they were like, those are having trouble backing out. We're sending y'all all new screws. That was just on the first 3 or so we got, so we swapped them out, and then I think hopefully everything's good. That's been several months, but
Yeah, but like I said, if it did work loose, if you got a little rattle, there's one that you can't get to. You have to press it and rotate the cam. But the other ones, you know, you can back them out, put some blue Loctite, put them back in. If that one is, it's like right here where this post is. You probably can't see it too well, but you know, if you had to, you can take it to your shop and tell them to press it and put some blue Loctite on it, and you'll be good to go. If you're just joining us, Grandan69 and Richard, throw your number in 1 to 20. Make sure that nobody's picked it. We're giving away a Buzzkill stabilizer this evening.
Stabilizer. We'll probably do it here in about 15 minutes. But yeah, well thought out bow. The from what I see people coming in the shop, the 3, which is the 33 inch, and the 5, which is the 35 inch, get the most attention. You know, like I said, if I was going for just an all-around bow, I don't know which one I'd go with, but I really like the 3. But I really like the colors. They got so many. You can go on their website and look. They got so many colors, and you can mix and match the limbs. What we really like is a solid color riser, and then with a limb with the camo pattern that sort of matches the riser.
Yeah.
Like this one, we've got, what color did you get? You got a black with a...
I did a black riser with First Light Fusion.
Yeah, it looks sharp.
Joe said on the black 5, what's the let off at 31 inch draw?
Joe, I really need to check it. Matter of fact, I'll do it on a video or even next week or something, because like you're saying, on 31, you have to move that stop as far as it'll... Is yours on 31?
Yep, mine's on 31, and you have to move it as far back as you can.
So my question would be that I've never tested is, can you get more than, say, 80% let off on 31? And that I don't know. I'd have to play with it.
Mike asked, are you adjusting the rest or cable guard to get your broadhead and field points to match?
Both. Like usually we'll paper tune it, and then we'll walk back tune it, and then most of the time the broadheads are good. If not, then I would mainly be adjusting the rest, but just barely at that point. And if you went into like a bare shaft tune between all those other ones, it's still, I mean, you could adjust both and get some changes, but I would mainly be, once I got my paper tune, I'd mainly be super micro adjusting my rest.
Let's see, what else?
But yeah, let me, in the next day or two, we'll put one on 31 and put it on the draw board and see exactly, calculate the exact let off. If nothing else, I'll comment it on here tomorrow or something. But yeah, that's actually a good question I hadn't thought of. I would guess low 80% let offs. We're just gonna max that, because I know when we set yours up, we put them stops as far out as they would go, and it felt like about 80% let off. But the shorter you go, you're almost, you know, putting the stop a 1/4 inch longer than the draw length is, and it gives it that extra dump over, that extra let off.
Explain to them on if they got one at home or whatnot, and they want to play with their stop. Like on these cams, it's got what is it, 1 to 10, I believe it is.
Yeah, 1's the longest,
and 10 being the shortest.
So like if you wanted the most, let's say you got it set on 3, and so if you had the module set on 3 and the draw stop set on 3, that's 80% let off. But if you wanted some more let off, you could set the module on 3 and you would want to set the draw stop longer. So let's say it was on 2.5, 2 3/4. That would give you, it would lengthen your draw length a tad, but it'd give you more let off. So the people that may want a lot of let off, we'd bump them down to a 4 on the module and then put the stop on 3 or a little over 3. That way you'd keep the same draw length, but it'd give you that nice dump over, 90% feel. And it's sort of the same way when we sold a lot of PSE Evolves. When you put it on 90% let off, if you go from 80 to 90% let off on that Evolve, we found that it was lengthening it 3/8 of an inch. So we'd end up a lot of times shortening somebody's draw length a half inch, but putting it on 90 to kind of keep it in the same boat.
DLR says, I'm getting into air setup and tuning. I knock tuned some gold tips, and 11 out of 12 tune best would label up. Then only a couple of the victory errors I did, which I have the spinal line ended up label up. Is this normal, or am I doing something wrong?
It's normal. I mean, it could be anything. And I'll be honest, I've took a lot of those victory errors that are spine aligned and put them on our spine checker over here, and my spine indexer don't come up with the same thing that theirs does. So I don't know how they do theirs. I mean, it was like 30 or 40% of theirs was where my thing says it should be. So I don't know how they're doing theirs. I mean, I really like victory errors, but it almost makes me wonder, are they just printing it on there to make people feel better about themselves? Um, but no, they could end up anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you what sold me on the whole spine index thing. We had a guy. Well, the moral of the story was he was shooting a little bit of an underspined arrow, and this was about 4 or 5 years ago when the spine indexing got real big. And I was like, let me just try something. I just want to try it. So I took, I don't know, he had like 6 arrows, and it wasn't something he got here. It was like a Walmart arrow or something. I took him over there, spun him on the spine indexer, put my mark, rotated everything, got all his fletchings lined up, and I think we put the stiff spine on the up and down axis, that type of thing. But anyway, at 60 yards, he went from kind of being all over the place to like, I mean, it at least shrank his group by half. Now, it could have been a mental thing, because I have a lot of those things. Like, I'll do something on my bow and think, I got this thing tuned up, and I'll shoot great, because in my head, it's better. It may not be, but in my head, it's right. And it could have been the same thing for him, but I know that kind of changed he's just an average Joe shooter. That kind of changed my opinion. So that's when I started spine indexing all my arrows. I was like, there's probably something to this.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the debate on spine indexing arrows. What spine indexing is, if you're not familiar, is we've got a set of rollers over here about 28 inches apart. We put the arrow on it, and then we put a ball bearing with a weight on it, and then we watch our readout dial, and we find out where the weakest part of that arrow is at. So at that point, well, you can see where the stiffest or weakest part is. You can put a mark, either one, and you want to put your cock feather there. That way you can know, the stiffest part of my arrow is up or down or sideways or whatever. But in my thinking, and my little bit of testing with it, when you apply force to it, it's going to want to find the weakest point of the arrow. So I usually put my weakest point on the up and down axis, and that's the way I like to do it. Now, a lot of people call or come in and they want the stiffest point, and that's perfectly fine. But I feel like when that force is applied, on a compound bow, the archer's paradox is up and down, and if you don't have good knock travel, it amplifies that, but that's a whole nother story.
Mm-hmm.
So I put my weakest spine up and down, so that way, what I worry about is, what if I put that stiff spine, straight up, but what if I'm off by just a couple degrees on that stiff spine? You know what I mean? What if I didn't mark it exactly perfect, and that arrow flies funky because it's trying to find the weakest part? Like if you take a piece of metal and bend it and then try to straighten it, and then you put force on it, it's always going to go back to kind of where that weakest spot is at. That's just how I think about it. And I don't have a problem with people that want to do it the opposite way. We do it however you want, but that's kind of how I set it up.
Grandan said he heard someone talk about floating arrows in a tub.
Yeah, I've done it before. I hadn't done it in a while. What that does, so when they build an arrow, whether aluminum or carbon, let's just stick with carbon because that's the main thing now. At some point where that carbon ends, there's going to be an overlap and there's going to be more carbon on that tiny little sliver of the whole shaft than anywhere else. And that's probably going to be your stiff spine. So what you can do is make sure you clean that arrow out good because you don't want the dust in it to make this happen. But you ultimately, you can float those arrows in a tub and the heaviest part of the spine is going to go down. That'd be the stiffest part. That'd be a quick, easy way to do it without buying stuff. But I'll be honest, I've played with the Ram spine tester. It's a couple $100. It works great, but I wouldn't completely sold on it because it's so little. It's just a little bitty spine tester. I wanted it to be a bigger span of the shaft. If you get on YouTube, you can probably just get on there and search spine indexer, or spine index, or whatever. There's a guy, and I built this thing about 2 years ago. He built one for about $25, and all it is he bought some skateboard bearings, a little bit of metal stock, and then you can get a dial caliper, or not a caliper, what's the word? Indicator thing off Amazon for like $10. And then you get a big bearing that goes over the shaft and hang a weight on it. And I think if you look back on our videos, I did something about arrow spine about 6 months ago, and I showed a picture of it. But if you find this guy on there for about $25, you can build one at home, and there's nothing to it. I mean, you really don't need nothing to build it. Just buy the stuff at Lowe's or whatever. But so I sold the Ram indexer I had. Like I say, it was sort of a love-hate relationship because it wasn't, to me, wide enough. And we use this thing all the time. And honestly, most of the time, you don't even need that dial. You can put that weight on the arrow and rotate it, and that arrow will automatically just rotate to the weak spine. Boom, there it is.
Yep.
So anyway, like I say, afterwards, I'll try to go in and like put the link to that on there. But you can look up on YouTube like spine index, arrow index, or something like that. He'll pop up. He'll be one of the first ones. Matter of fact, he's got background music on it, if I remember right, and I think it's Copperhead Road. That'll tell you that that's the right one.
Mike said, I noticed they are coming with shims for dealers. How often do you have a bow that needs shim adjustment?
They sent us a whole big sack of those things, and we have yet to have to use them.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know if that was I guess it was a just in case, but so far we've been good. We hadn't had to use any. The prime shims I wish I should have. Where are them shims? You know,
Top drawer of the cabinet.
stand by. We'll try to not make a bunch of racket.
They should be on the top drawer on the right hand side. Yep.
Okay. So a prime shim is not like any other bow shim. It's the closest thing is a sort of a Matthews top hat system, but it's not really the same as that either. It's a big thick joker. Can you see that on there? Hang on, our feed's a little behind on the phone. I'm gonna hold it right there. Not really.
Not really.
Anyway, it's a big old thick joker. And there's just one on each side of the cam. So it's not like and it's metal. It's not like a plastic bushing or anything. So you change just one piece out. And I like that because some bows come in and it'll have like 5 or 6, plastic shims on each side of the cam. And when you try to take one 10,000th shim out, we've had it happen more times than not. Them things go everywhere and everybody's hollering and I'm cussing and all that type of thing. But
it always happens at the inopportune time.
Yeah, you got somebody waiting and you're like, this thing, it ain't paper tuning perfect. It's on I don't know what brand of Obsession, let's say, and you'll go to move a shim and they go everywhere and you're like, But
DLR says, I normally use blazer vanes. I'd like to try some 4-fletch. What vanes have you had luck with broadheads and 4-fletch, mini blazers or something else?
The mini blazers are good, but I'll tell you what I really liked last year, and it was those Boning heat vanes. They're a low profile, real slick vane compared to a Blazer. Have we still got any sample packs they gave us? If we
I think there's some over there. We'd have to dig it up.
send TJ an email, I think we got sample packs they gave us from the show. We'll send you one of those sample packs you want to play with them.
Yeah, TJ at archeryshack.com.
But anyway, these shims are a lot easier because you just take the one out, and it's sort of like a cup thing, so it kind of cups over each side of the cam.
Mm-hmm.
It's not internal, but it kind of fits up right in against it, kind of. But anyway, if you just tuned in, I'll just throw this out there while we're talking. We're giving away a stabilizer here in the next short while. We're just telling everybody to put a number in the comments between 1 and 20. The big thing is, though, read through the comments and make sure you don't pick somebody else's number, because I can't talk. If that happens, we'll pick whoever chose that number first. Here in a few minutes, we're going to draw for it.
So far, I don't think nobody's picked the same number.
Yeah, I like those Zombie Slayer arrows. They, to me, in the standard size carbon from Black Eagle, you got the Carnivore, which is the super light arrow. You got the Outlaw, which is the middleweight, good price, hunting arrow.
Yep.
And then you got the Zombie Slayer, to me, which is a little more higher quality. It's a few more bucks than the Outlaw, but it's a good solid arrow. More times than not, the box has got like zombies and green goblins or whatever on it, and people see that and be like, I like it. And so they buy it because of the box. But the Zombie Slayers, I never had any issue out of the Zombie Slayer. The old zombie.
Yep.
That's all the standard size they got, right? Am I missing something?
Standard is Outlaw, Carnivore,
Zombie. I think that's it.
I think that's it on standard, and then it gets into the Spartan, Renegade, Rampages, XM packs.
That Spartan's a heck of an arrow too. It's just a little bit smaller, but still takes a regular insert. Pretty fancy. Bloodline is a good arrow, especially for the price.
Yeah. Which one did they quit making?
A couple. They quit making the hang on. There was two that were cousins. It was the Hex and the something that was lighter weight. What was it? Ah, crap.
Because we got one guy that shoots it, and we can't get him anymore, and we tried to get him to change, and he won't change. I can't think of it.
I can't think of the arrow I was trying to think of. But anyway. But we like Black Eagle. Y'all know that. We've talked about them. I like Easton. I really don't have an arrow I don't like. The only arrows I've ever... The Torch, that's what I was trying to think of. Did they do away with it? I feel like they did, but I hadn't looked.
I thought the Torch was when... Well, everybody knows Bone Collector guys.
It was supposed to be their speed arrow.
Yeah.
If it's still around. I'm not even sure. I hadn't ordered any in a while for people. Does anybody shoot the Deer Crossing arrows? So here's their story. They were sort of big on like archery talk for a while, and then the guy that owned them sold them out to this kid in like Ohio. But long story short, they were selling them pretty cheap. Had a few people bring them in. Ended up having one guy randomly come in here to shoot us both with a chronograph, and his arrow exploded, and I thought it had went in his hand, and it freaked me out. Went down to Myrtle Beach to shoot this field shoot a couple years ago, and another guy was shooting their fat arrow, and literally he had to borrow arrows from a guy in our group because his arrows were hitting the target and just shattering in half. So after I seen all that, we'd never stopped them. I'd talked to them at the show. They kind of gave me a sketchy feeling, and I think that's the only arrow I would say stay away from unless they've changed something on them. But when they were on Archery Talk on Facebook all the time, they were giving out all these discount codes and trying to get people to buy them, and it kind of made me mad because they kept calling us wanting to stock them, and I'm like, why would I stock them and you're giving out codes people can get them cheaper and I can even buy them for, So they were kind of sketchy, and I think they're still around. I know they got sold out, but I don't hear much about them anymore.
DLRS, when are you guys going to ramp up online sales, or how else can we support you guys if that's not a problem, or if that's not part of the business model?
I don't know. um,
We have to be careful what we do online because a lot of our like Prime and Bear and a lot of our products we get, we're technically not allowed to sell them
yeah.
or advertise them online
Yeah.
below a certain price.
Well,
So
well, that, and then there's a lot of, well, particularly bows. Like I can't
yeah,
even sell a prime online. I mean, that's fine. I like that. And then there's certain, I mean, there's even certain sites and rests we're not allowed to sell online. But we've got the archeryshackstring.com website. You know, we sell a lot of bowstrings. I really need to add. I used to have it on there, but I really need to add arrows back to the website. The problem I was having was without, well, two things was happening. Either somebody would order arrows and I wouldn't get near enough details and then we wouldn't be on the same page, or then I added all these drop down boxes and stuff and it freaked out people. They were like, good Lord, I don't know all this information. So we just took it off the website and was like, just call us if you need arrows, we'll ship them and that type of thing, or email us. But I really need to come up with a way of us selling arrows online, but making it user friendly. So I need to. I hadn't had them on the website in probably 2 years now. And then if we talk about anything that is sold on Amazon, I can put, and I've done it on a couple of our videos, and it's neat how it works, but I can put an affiliate link and we get a little percentage off if somebody buys it or whatever. But we don't fool with that a whole lot. We do every now and then, but not a whole lot. Our main online sales come from our bowstrings on the archeryshackstrings.com, but I do need to add more stuff on there other than just strings.
then I'm gonna run through a couple of
All
them.
right.
Jake said flat lines or injections. I think flat lines they quit making too.
Yeah.
I think flat lines they quit. Grundan said I got some Easton light speeds for tack in vain now since canceling. I'm there with you. I hate that. I was looking forward to that. William says FMJ X75 or double X75 limited edition.
Oh yeah, them were some badass arrows
Yep.
there. They were, you could get them. Well, they had them in that, I think in the autumn orange and
Autumn
in that
orange.
and in that camo hunter color.
Yeah.
That was cool.
And Archery America said I shot deer crossing, but they splintered if fletchings touched. He also said an 18-year-old from out west bought them out with his graduation money. So evidently,
I read that. Yeah, I read about that.
Richard said that he got his Archery Shack strings in the UK. I understood what you meant, Richard. And then William says camo.
Yeah, on the FMJs.
Yeah.
That was a sharp arrow.
Yeah, it was.
They're pretty sharp. I really like the FMJ. That was a cool. Whenever I mean they've been out for a while now, but
Yeah.
when that came out, I was like, this is a cool idea, because I had played with and shot ACCs before, which is the opposite. You know, it's got the carbon on the outside, aluminum on the inside. I always liked the ACC, and then they kind of were almost a thing of the past, still making
Yeah.
them, and then the FMJ came out, and I was like,
Well, you know, that's like Victory come out with that one, what, 2 years ago now? The Extortion, I
I've
think
never
it was.
heard much about the thing.
I didn't either, but basically it was carbon with a steel mesh woven into the carbon of the shaft. So it was technically the best of both worlds, kind of like an FMJ, but you didn't see the steel mesh. Like I
Yeah.
said, it was woven into the inner weavings of the carbon.
I'll tell you another cool arrow that used to be out, and it was when that it was SME, Scout Mountain Equipment. They went out of business a long time, not long, but at least 10 years ago, probably longer than that. They had an arrow called an Epsilon, and it had Kevlar woven into it. And it was a pretty tough arrow, but I do remember spinning them on a spine checker, and them things were crooked as a dog leg. And but they had this slick coating on the outside, like I'm talking about, like glass slick. And if you had to refletch them, that coating would come off, and it was like crap on the back. But as far as looking at the arrow, it was a nice looking arrow. And I remember them being tough. I shot them a little bit, but they were semi-popular probably around 2000 to 2003 or 4, and then they just fell off the face. They had some nice sites. They just fell off the face of the earth. But yeah, we'll get some more. We'll see what else we can add slowly to the website, that we can ship and that sort of thing. And we definitely appreciate the string orders and the y'all watching these videos and all that type of stuff.
And if you're interested in something and you're just wondering if we can ship it or whatnot, then you can either probably email us at archeryshack@gmail.com, or you can send it to me, tj@archeryshack.com, and
Yeah.
that way we can look and see what we can. There's some things we can, some things we can't.
Yeah.
So if you're wanting something in particular, like I said, just email us and we'll see what we can do.
Oh yes. We'll give it a couple more minutes, and then we'll give it 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll do our drawing. If you got on after we've talked about it a couple times here, we're giving away this stabilizer from Outer Limit. We're just telling everybody to put a number in the comments. Make sure, scroll through it real quick, make sure nobody else has already picked that number. And we're going to get on the computer here in a minute and random draw somebody's number. And then you can just shoot us your address, shoot it to TJ or me or whoever, and we'll get it shipped out tomorrow when we ship out our string orders. But that'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think I had something else in my head to talk about. Somebody had asked me about peep height. That sounded weird. But anyway, pretty much they were saying, how do you know exactly where to put it and all that sort of thing. And I told them, on initial setup, you just want to kind of draw it back in your house or in the shop or whatever and get it close. But really, if you want to get it perfect, let's say you're going to set up a single pin on a hunting bow and you're going to be shooting out to, let's say, 50 yards. Well, I would ideally go outside. You may have to shoot it a time or two to make sure you're going to hit the target, but you want that sight set somewhere in the middle of there. So like on 30 or 35 yards, and then set your peep where it is the most comfortable there. And then at 20 yards, you're going to be crammed up a little bit, but then at 50 yards, you're not going to be like way down here below with your anchor point. You're not going to be way below your chin or anything. So that's sort of the best of all the worlds. And I'm the world's worst. I'll put a set of strings on my bow and have to reset it up, and I'll be playing with that peep sight, and I'll think I got this thing perfect, and then I'll go out there and get to shooting it, and I'm bad about setting it too high. I'll get on out to 40 or 50 yards, and my hand will be floating, and I'll be like, I want to move it down. I actually had to do that not long ago.
And then another thing is like you can. This is the way we used to do it, but you can still do it. Draw your bow back with your eyes closed if you think you got it in the right vicinity.
Yeah.
And when you get to your anchor point, if you shoot both eyes open or just one eye, just open your eye, and that way as soon as you open that eye, that way you want that peep sight. Yeah. As soon as you open your eye, you can see through the peep and see your sight housing and the pin. Oh, let's see. What was the hot bow you like the most from 5 to 10 years ago? I'd like to find a second bow that's a little cheaper.
We're both going to mention bows that are too old, so let's don't even go there. We're going to get into like the switchback era, but that's like 15. You don't go. I mean, go that route if you're looking for like a $200 bow, but you could get something better. Probably, I'm trying to think of a good one to throw out there.
I am too. I mean, 5-10 years ago is what would that like?
I'll be honest. I was going to say that if you want a good back wall, a lot of let off, you can get an Elite E32, or if you want a longer one, an E35. They're all over the internet for just a couple $100, and it's a heck of a bow. The only issues people are having with them is they Cerakoted the cams, and on that sharp bend at the end of the cams, they chip a little bit. It don't hurt the performance at all. It just kind of sometimes looks a little funky, but that's probably what I'd say. I actually bought a snow camo Elite E32. It's been 2 or 3 years ago.
He said 300 to 500 range.
Okay, and I was gonna say I think for about $300, and we put some strings on it, and somebody bought it, but that'd be one I would look at. I'm trying to think of what else.
You get back, you start getting into what was it?
Even like a Halon 32
Yeah.
Matthews, you could probably find one for $400 or $500.
I mean, you could even get back into what was the last like this? Well, no, it ain't the Z7s.
Well, let's talk about the Z7 Extreme. So Matthews, of course, 28-inch axle to axle. We have them come in all the time.
Yeah,
Not the fastest of bows, but it's a great shooting single cam.
yeah,
And it was, I would almost bet it was probably one of their top 3 selling bows of all time.
yeah,
But it's a little bow. It shoots good. No issues with them. That's the Z7 Extreme. The like the Matthews Helium and Creed I like,
yeah,
but I would probably go Z7 Extreme over those. You got some PSE stuff, but around that time frame was when PSE bows were those sort of speedy, want to take off on you bows.
yeah.
You could definitely find some cheap PSE bows from that era, but they're going to be kind of jumpy.
Muddy Duck says my husband hates he got rid of the DXT. That was a good one too.
The DXT and the Adrenaline were
Yep.
good ones. Any of those would be great. I'm trying to think of other brands. Watch out on the Botex. That was the time frame where they were having limb issues.
Yeah. Hoyt
Hoyt,
would be
really for all the way from like the CRX 32, 35, which would have been probably 10, 12 years ago. And the Alpha Max 32, Alpha Max 35 were great bows.
the Carbon Elements, Carbon Element G3s.
Yeah, you can find some of those
Yeah.
for a decent price. And you get up into
You get anything past that, you start getting back up in the.
even the Nitram. The Nitram was like a 2015 bow.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of my favorite Hoyts, and I've seen them for sale, $300-$400 range. What other manufacturer we missing? Bear. I'll be honest, David bought a Bear. It was brand new, but the dealer had a bunch in stock. It was a 1 or 2 year old Bear
Yeah.
Escape. He bought it brand new, still in the box, never touched, for like $300 or $350.
Yeah.
Warranty and the whole 9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen a lot of, not a lot, but on eBay, I've seen Bear and Elite bows that dealers have left over, new in the box. You still get the warranty and the whole 9 yards for about that $300-$400 price range.
Yeah.
Bobby Looney bought that. Which Elite did he have? It wasn't a leftover from a dealer,
Yeah, I can't remember.
but it was brand new, never set up.
That was the Bill Jordan edition camo on
Yeah.
that bow too, and I mean he got it for a steal.
Yeah.
I was gonna say a bow, and I never forgot what I was gonna say. Darn it.
Let's do this giveaway. If you're hang on, we got something else here. Don't
What new adjustable technology do you like more between Elite?
That's a hard question.
Oh, I know what I was gonna say now, but
Yes. Well, you got I will give it to PSE. They kind of came out with a little bit, sort of that technology first, where you could shift that limb cup left and right. And now Elite has kind of jumped on board, and Bowtech has. I mean, I like it all. It's neat because you can adjust it at home without a press and
Yep.
get those cams. If you're getting a weird tear, you just move it over a little bit. I guess I don't really have anything bad to say about it. I mean, it's a lot of busy work. If you look at it, to me, I'm always thinking of older stuff. This is even a lot of busy work with all these cams and stuff. But
yeah,
as far as fine tuning a bow, all that's great.
but Prime, I've seen a lot of like the Prime rises and stuff like that, which is probably what, a 4-year-old bow now, maybe.
Maybe older than that.
But I know a lot of dealers are selling them brand new in the box for around $350, $400.
I doubt they still got them, but Lancaster last year supposedly bought all the old whatever Prime had left over, and like you say, they had them on their website for $350 out the door, brand new.
Yeah. You ready to give a stabilizer away?
He was lighting Chris will be over as soon as we get done. TJ got naked, and then he never wears pants, but luckily y'all can't see it. No, I'm kidding. All right, let's give away stabilizer. Let me just, should I write down everybody's number here to be quick and efficient? Let me see here. Well, we'll just scroll through it instead of writing.
Yep.
It'll take too long to write it down.
You gonna grab the camera so they can see it, or
I'm gonna grab the camera. Let me just take this off and walk around there and get it.
I don't think.
Tell them in case somebody just got on. Tell them
If you're just now tuning in, we're fish giveaway to stabilizer, buzzkill outer limit. So comment a number between 1 and 20, and just make sure nobody's picked your number. And you can send, if you win, just send your shipping address to me at tj@archeryshack.com, and we'll get it sent out tomorrow at gmail.com. Sorry about that. And so we'll give it away now.
hold that for a second. I'm gonna put this microphone apparatus back on. Hopefully it's not being too rackety. All right. Well, everybody's hopefully got their number in. We will let her eat. He's got between 1 and 20. Mm-hmm. We got number 8. Let's see who got number 8 here.
I remember seeing it. Crappy Master RC, I believe, got it.
Crappy Master. Crappy Master has got the stabilizer. Heck yeah. Let's roll that beautiful footage. All right, I'm gonna put this back over here for a second. If you hold it for 2 seconds.
All right. Daisy.
Okay. All right, Crappy Master RC. Shoot TJ that email, TJ Archer Shack. It is TJ@archershack.com.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm thinking.
I think he was thinking the main shop
Yeah.
website or email, but yeah.
Shoot him a thing with your mailing address, and I will ship it tomorrow with our strings going out.
Yep.
We've mentioned this before, but if you have any connections with an outdoor company or anything like that, I mean, I'm not talking about like giving a bow away. I mean, that'd be great, but just something small that we could give away on here. We'd be happy to chat with them or email with them or whatever's easiest.
Yeah.
And kind of tell them, we'll do a little talk or review or whatever they want us to do and then give it away. I just think it'd be neat.
Yeah.
We're looking at a couple other things to give away here soon. We'll probably mention it on the podcast coming out next week or something. And I just think it's a neat little thing to do. Keeps everybody interested and
Yeah, it does.
that type of thing. So,
and we appreciate the questions and comments that y'all leave us on the live feeds. It gives us something to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of us being boring.
yeah, paint drying.
Yeah.
But anyway, congratulations.
Or watching old way we used to wrap airs in Creston, watching it dry.
Yeah. I was thinking about Creston airs the other day. I bought all the crap to do it with. I mean, we still got it. But man, you talking about a pain in the butt, you'd have to dip them. Hope like hell all the bubbles came out, hang them. Sometimes you'd have to double dip them to make sure it did right.
Mm-hmm.
It would dip different if it was cold or if it was hot. Sometimes you have to use a little bit of thinner and then you paint out, and then you'd have to, I got the Creston machine, it'd spin it, I'd make me a little template, and you'd take your different brushes and colors and make it all, it would look nice when it was done. But then it would never fail. You'd have somebody like TJ come behind you and smack your arrow and tear a fletching up. You'd have to strip the whole thing, all the paint, the whole 9 yards. So
I don't know why I'm still getting blamed, because we hadn't even been able to shoot.
they all know how he does me. If I send an arrow in, it could be in the 5 ring. He's going to hit it.
Well, there's always that chance for that ricochet shot for a 12. So.
Chris said he'll see what he can find. Maybe we can give away Chris's Sequoia on the feed. That'd be kind of cool. Give away a Toyota.
Yeah.
That'd get us some views.
But yep.
But anyway, so just throwing that out there. We'll keep coming up with stuff, but it would be neat if we could partner with a few people and give them a little review and then give it away, or whatever they want us to do would be neat.
Yeah.
Please no lingerie. We don't. We want viewers, but I know that would take it over the top. So.
He said it needs a water pump.
Uh-oh. That could be fun.
Well, all he needs is a 10 millimeter and a 13 millimeter, and he can probably take the whole thing apart, is what I've been told on some Yoders. I don't know if it's just some of the older ones or the newer ones, but
Yeah.
I've been told a 10 millimeter and a 13, you can take the motor slap apart.
Dang. But anyway, we'll quit boring y'all, and we will get off of here. If you're watching this after the fact, we go live every Thursday at 6:30 and just kind of BS with everybody. We sort of have something to talk about, but
Yep.
luckily, people get on here and talk to us and ask questions. But first time you ever won anything, heck yeah.
Yes, sir.
So thank y'all for coming on here. Like I say, if you're watching after the fact, because this will post to the YouTube here after it percolates, Thursdays, 6:30, we go live for about 30, 45 minutes. And then Tuesday morning, the little podcast comes out. We usually answer questions that people sent in. And then Sunday, we just have a random video coming out. I think this Sunday I got something. I don't know what I got.
I'm trying to think of what. We've had so many bows dropped off.
I think it was a restring, but I can't even remember which bow it was now.
I know the Hoyt Nitrum come out this past Sunday, didn't it?
What I came in here Sunday and restrung too. It was the Z7 and the
Carbon Cure.
Carbon Cure. It'll be one of those two. Just restring them. They wasn't nothing too fancy about them, but I recorded it, and I got to get off my butt because there's like 10 bows waiting to get strings. But I think people sitting at home wanting to put strings on bows. Our string orders have went wild here lately, and we're just trying to stay on top of that, and people's dropping bows off left and right. So I'm going to record probably Saturday or Sunday or both a bunch of videos of us restringing bows and get them together. But if you got any questions for our podcast, we record it on Saturday, not live, but we record it on Saturday. It comes out on Tuesday. Shoot TJ at email, tj@archershack.com, and just ask whatever. Or if you want us to talk about something, that's what most of the podcast is. We'll do that. Yeah. And that's about it. Y'all have a good weekend. Chris, get that timing belt fixed, sir. And congrats on the win. Crappie Master, we'll get it in the mail tomorrow. Just shoot us that address, and we'll see y'all in the next one.
See y'all.
Let me go turn this apparatus off.